Hello, this is Matt Cannon with my thoughts of the day out here in nature. I want to just share a few of the things that I'm thinking about today that I think will be very helpful for you. I know it's helped me tremendously, and I want to be in the spirit of what I'm learning. I want to just give it away to you for free if you decide to watch and listen to this. And what I've been thinking about is I've been thinking about two things. Two things. And one is current events going on in the world. Right now, today is February 29th, 2020. It's a leap year, so this is kind of a rare day. But one of the big things that you're seeing is things about this coronavirus. So the coronavirus is pretty much making everyone panic for rightful reasons because it is a potential pandemic situation. So in this day and age, we're seeing unprecedented response efforts for this situation. And so I've been thinking about it, I've been mulling over things, and I've even wondered if I should even say anything about it. But I decided I'm going to go ahead and just say a few thoughts. And again, these thoughts of the day are just me wrestling with ideas in my own head and then bringing it to you to make what you will out of it. And I want to go into a poem. I think oftentimes one of the best ways to deal with current events is to step out of the current event into the timeless. Timeless truths are always there. They're always going to be available to you. And I think some of the smartest people out there, they don't deal with the current events. They kind of step out from current and they get with the timeless truths. And so while I'm talking about a current event, I want to take a step back and get into a timeless truth. And I want to talk about a poem that I've talked about before, and it's Rudyard Kipling. He had this poem called If, and the poem has been a tremendous anchor in my life. I've read it hundreds, maybe even thousands of times. I've written about it. I've even recorded other videos about it. I'll put some videos down here where I've kind of talked on it and expounded on it more. But one of the things he says in the poem, he says, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you too. So think about it. If you can keep your head when all others are losing theirs. And what's happening right now, we're seeing losses in the stock market like we haven't seen in a long time. Probably going back to like 2008 when we had the market crashes that happened back then. And so you're having this situation where a lot of people are rightfully so fearful. And I like what Warren Buffett says about the stock market. He says the stock market in the short term is a voting machine, in the long term it's a weighing machine. So you think of the scales being weighed. In the short term it's a voting machine, in the long term it's a weighing machine. So I've been breaking this down in my own mind about should I be worried, should I be concerned, and I want to step back in timeless truths. If you can keep your head when all those are about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you too. And so if people are losing their head and you're keeping yours, some of the best economic gains of individuals occurred during some of the biggest crises in the biggest down markets. So what I'm thinking about is just, I was sitting around lunch the other day and we were talking about the stock market taking a crash, and maybe you don't talk about that type of stuff, but if you have any money in the market, you've seen your money drop in the last several weeks. You've seen it drop maybe quite a bit. And so it's pretty fearful. Now this isn't investment advice. Don't take investment advice from me of the last people, but this isn't meant to be investment advice. But what you saw was, what you're seeing is you're seeing big dips. Now, Tony Robbins wrote a book. He wrote two books. One was Money, Master the Game, and one was Unshakable. They're both two sides of the same coin. They're all about mastering money and taking care of money. And one of the things he says in Unshakable is when the market is going down, you really have some great opportunities. And so right now may be a time in your life, in our lives, where these fears, all the people losing their heads, about a situation that I'm not saying isn't serious, like the coronavirus could be serious, but by and large, do you not think that the response among all the nations, all the people that are working on it, isn't going to be measured in a way that's going to take care of it? So if people respond in the way we think they are, and think of the solutions around it, wash your hands, be in good health overall. If you're not in good health, don't be around large crowds. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Simple stuff like that. Washing your hands and maybe being a little less around people, especially people that are potentially prone to carry it, and you're going to probably be okay. So the market is going down. Short term, it's a voting machine. Long term, it's a weighing machine. Warren Buffett, one of the smartest financial minds around, says that very clearly. So if you think about it, right now we have underpriced assets. Being in stocks is not about stocks and short-term gains. I heard someone say recently, it's not about timing the markets, it's about time in the market. So you don't want to be too panicky about this situation. And when everyone else is panicking, because the market is largely a psychological engine that's just moving along with the whims of the people that are making the decisions, you might be at a time, it's more about owning a part of the business. Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, they talk about owning a piece of the business. And you can't lose when you're buying business at a low price. So if you're buying a business at a low price, and right now a lot of these stocks are low price, so you're owning a portion of that business at a very low price, you might find yourself, while you may have lost money, I know I've lost a good amount of money in the last several weeks, but maybe you're losing money. But if you double down and you put in, and again, this isn't investment advice, don't take advice from me on that for sure, but I'm just telling you what I'm doing, my thoughts of the day. If you buy things right now, you might buy it at a very reduced price, and you're going to find yourself, when the market corrects, long term it's a weighing machine, short term it's a voting machine. It's not timing the market, it's time in the market. And if you can buy pieces of a business assets in the market for a low price, you're going to be winning in the long run. So I'm not saying that it's not scary. I'm not saying that even this virus could get out of hand and we could have a real serious pandemic situation. What I am saying is, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs, and if you can do that, you're going to find yourself in a very good place. And this doesn't only apply to the market. It applies to other areas of life. It applies to decision making. I've been thinking recently about Ted Williams. Again, I'm reading a book by Charlie Munger right now, or a book that's a collection of Charlie Munger's ideas, and he has this whole section in there with Ted Williams. Ted Williams was a famous Red Sox baseball player. He has a special place in my mind because my grandfather, who was a diehard Red Sox fan, he's no longer with us. He once met Ted Williams while he was serving during the war in World War II, and it was like the memory of his life. At his eulogy, at his funeral, this was discussed, and it was just an amazing. He was an ultimate Red Sox fan. He has a brick at Fenway in memory of him and my grandmother. His name was Ronald Rose, and her name was Betty Rose, but he was a diehard Red Sox fan. So when I learn about Ted Williams and I learn about his little system, he wrote a book called The Science of Hitting. The Science of Hitting. And what Ted Williams had is he made a strike zone. It was a square like this, and it had 77 little points on that square. And he found like there was this one little sweet spot down the middle that if a pitch was there, he would try to hit it. If it was outside of that, he wouldn't try to hit it. So he had this whole science of decision making and hitting. And Warren Buffett talks a lot about he doesn't go outside of his circle of competence. He doesn't go out where he doesn't understand things. So he'll pretty much stand there as things are getting pitched, and he'll won't swing at balls. As the balls are pitched and it's not a strike, it's not in a sweet spot, he's not going to go for the hit. So you have to not only learn your circle of competence and where you understand things and operate in that realm, but you also have to know when to not go for a pitch that's done outside of that. With that said, in this situation that we're facing, there's going to be a lot of people, seemingly smart people, that are going to be jumping out after things. They're going to be going after this, they're going to be going after that. But if you are just think about it, you stay calm, you realize it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. Short term, it's a voting machine. Long term, it's a weighing machine. If you can buy assets that are underpriced, maybe you lost money, like I lost money, but if you can buy assets underpriced and you just stay unshakable, like Tony Robbins' book Unshakable says, which I recommend you reading, especially now when everything's going crazy and people are losing their heads, and you can keep yours, you might have an opportunity to buy businesses, buy a piece of these businesses, because that's what you're doing when you're buying stocks. You're buying a piece of a business at very, very low cost, very low prices. And this whole situation, this coronavirus, that statistically hasn't yet proved itself out. Now, you gotta use wise risk mitigation. Don't do anything stupid when this is going on either. I'm not suggesting you go out and do something foolish, but be smart, operate in your circle of competence, make wise decisions. Don't lose your head when all others are losing it. Keep your head when all others are losing theirs. And you might just be sitting on an opportunity, a gold mine opportunity, like many of the richest people were made after the Great Depression. After 2008 financial crisis, many people made their fortunes because they bought underpriced assets. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger have made a whole career out of buying underpriced assets, undervalued assets. So if you do that, if something, let's just say that something, a stock was worth $100 today, or was worth $100, 2 weeks ago, and now it's worth, just say $1. Now think about it. It went from $100 to $1. How much of that do you think is a psychological drop versus actual losing value? Think about that. How much of that is actually the people losing their minds, losing their heads, and selling it because they're fearful, versus an actual drop in value of that business? Because remember, you're not just buying a stock ticker number, you're buying a piece of a business. So if you're buying a piece of that business and the price has dropped crazily, that just doesn't fit rational thinking, you might have an opportunity to buy a piece of that business for a very low price. Now, once things get through, we get through this crisis, and I'm not saying it's not a serious situation. I could be absolutely wrong, and this could be a really serious situation that we could feel it for a while. But again, in the long time, it's a weighing machine. In the short term, it's a voting machine. Don't go basing your decisions on votes, but make your decision based on weighing. If we can get through this and ride this and not lose our head when all others around you are losing theirs, you might have an opportunity to buy assets at a very low price. And even if that, say that $100 asset went down to $1, and you take the money you lost when it went from 1,000 to 1, but now you can buy, say, 1,000 shares. Say you lost $1,000, but the price has come down from $100 to $1 a share, and say you had $1,000 and you lost a portion of that, so from $100 down to $100 down to $1. So now you can put $1,000 back in and buy $1 shares. Now you own 1,000 shares. If those shares even raise a little bit, you're going to be way ahead, and you're going to end up gaining more money than you lost. So just think of it mathematically, think of it objectively, think of it like a square, like Ted Williams. You have a hitting, you're working in that strike zone. Listen to smart, intelligent people smarter than me, people like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Tony Robbins. There's a lot of really smart people out there, and I wish you the best. I want you to have success during this time, and you might be having an opportunity that is very rare. So there's also crisis and opportunity, and oftentimes they're right on the same line as each other. So you might have this might be a crisis, but it could also be an opportunity. So don't miss out on an opportunity in a potential crisis situation. If you make wise decisions, if you keep your head while all those around you are losing theirs, you might just get a chance to change your life situation, to change your station, to continue to improve, and at the very least, you're going to be calm. And again, another part of Rudyard Kipling's "If" it says if you can meet disaster and triumph and treat those two imposters just the same. So a lot of times we focus on, we celebrate our victories and we mourn our losses. But disaster and triumph are often the same. So sometimes you win and you might actually lose, and sometimes you lose and you might actually win. A lot of times it's what you do with it. And one of the best ways you can win is not to lose your head when all those around you are losing theirs. So in this time, stay safe, do good common sense things, take care of yourself, be healthy, and you might just be sitting on an opportunity that's like very few in history. And so I want you to prosper and do well and be blessed. This is Matt Cannon with my Thoughts of the Day, signing out.